Warning, this show contains adult language. Welcome to another edition of Up and In It. I'm your host, Adrian Babashoff, and if you're new here, welcome as well. And if you're wondering what the show is about, it's entirely dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life on your own terms. All right, this is episode 288, and it's Adaptation to Changing Times. And this is not quite the most sexiest subject matter, I realize, for most people, but I think there's some heavy changes and things that are happening in life. We've been talking about this over and over again, and today I've just decided to talk about adaptation to changing times because that's exactly what I'm going through, and I know the world, a lot of people are, and I think a lot of people are scrambling. And I realize this is not the most sexiest. I like the word sexy. I've been hearing that a lot on shows and stuff like that. And that's exactly the terminology and the mentality that we got to get away from. We got to get rid of, in my opinion anyways. This is all just my opinion. But I look at the adaptation to changing times as pivoting, and there's no such better time. I've been saying this, that our systems that we have in place are our blueprint, basically. How do you live life? What do you do? Who's to say we're supposed to live the way we are? Why do we do the things that we do? What happens if you take a step back and you start to look at humanity and you start to look at society and you start to look at all these things that we have in play? Doesn't it seem kind of strange when you start to add up and say, well, who's successful, who's not? Who's actually making it? Who's actually being happy? And I'm in one of those weird moods today where I guess I'm just not I'm not really feeling a lot of the bullshit that's out there, nor I really don't ever. It's like I want to sit there and dwell on the bullshit, but I just feel tired. I feel annoyed, I feel irritated, and I know that I'm working really hard to do the things that I feel that I need to do for myself and my family, and things are working out great. For those of you watching, you guys can see it's not quite so sexy outside, is it? I don't know why I'm going to beat that one into the ground. Feels like today. It's still dark outside. For those of you guys watching, there's a flashlight in my face. I'm sitting in my vehicle, taking a few minutes here to talk to you before I head out to get my life together. And everything's going great. Everything is going great, but there's some adaptation. There's some pivoting. And I guess that's the first place I want to start, is that in normal life, before all of this shit happened, a lot of you guys don't even know what's coming down the pipeline. I think a lot of you guys are watching the news, and the news has these little flashes of things over here while they're doing stuff over there. And there's a lot of changes coming, and you can't just come out and say it, right? How do I know these things? Because I can see the prices of things going up. I can see the people who are talking about the not so sexy people who are throwing numbers around and looking at things. Keeping an eye on what's going on. Nobody knows what's really going to happen, but it's not looking good, right? And as I said earlier, you don't really need to listen to all these people and take note of inventory of things that are going on, watch the shifts and the sleight of hands and stuff. All you really need to do is just look out into normal society and see how unhappy people are and how things are really not working. This is a awful blueprint, from education to money, to all of which all coincides together with the spirituality, with happiness. So before all this stuff happened, coming from an entrepreneur, a business owner, we're always having to pivot. The majority of people out there, I think, get to show up to a job and you do what you're told. There's a blueprint for you. Go take care of this amount of work. Here's how you do it. Here's how you process it. Report when you're done, and then we'll move it on to the next person who's going to finish processing it and all those kind of dealios there. So there's not much for people like that to really think about. Whereas when you are a business owner, especially I would say like in my profession, and I'm sure there's lots like fishing boats and things like that. Mine is mainly in roofing construction, and there's rain, there's wind, there's heat, there's days when it's triple digits. And that means that on the roof, it's probably about like 120 degrees. It's straight up man shit, like crazy. It divides the puppies from the fucking big dogs. The roosters from the hens, as they like to say. But yeah, there's constant pivoting. There's days when it's not supposed to rain, and it rains. So you always have to keep flowing with the changes. And I think this is like a muscle. And we have to develop these muscles of pivoting. I see in our systems that we have today, where a lot of things are very predictable. We have our comfort zones and everything. You know, our houses are heated to a certain degree. When we come home, we're never really exposed to cold and you know, shivering, going, wow, it is freezing, and having to really work in it. Maybe you do as you get into your car and throw the AC or the heating on to you know, bring that temperature back down. But people are never tested, basically. And when you listen to a lot of successful people, they always say, get out of your comfort zone. It's pivoting. A lot of the story of Elon Musk is just one of them. But he ate hot dogs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He lived off hot dogs and lived in his office. And these are the reason I'm bringing this up is that what I see before us happening right now is we have a lot of people acting like they're rich, acting like they want to look the certain part. They want to uphold the aesthetics of life. And I don't understand why to perform this act. When I look and I ask, well, how is that serving you? Do you have a supply of emergency funds, emergency foods? Are you healthy? Are you paying attention to your family? You know, last night coloring with my daughter and playing with puppets and playing just games, dancing and stuff like that, and having a friend over and just playing. And that's the camaraderie. That's the interaction that a lot of us need. But we need it in ourselves. I'm guilty of this as well, being an entrepreneur, is that when I am present with people, there's so much always going on in my head that I'm actually mentally only a percentage there. And sometimes that percentage varies. I think a lot of us as well, worrying about things, thinking about things, trying to uphold the facade of us looking a certain way, we're paying attention more to how we look than actually who we are. And I don't think that's going to work out very well in the coming hard times that are here. From what people say, it's going to get really real fast. Today's actually a special day too of some changings that are going to happen. So yeah, a pivot. I think that in order for us to survive, in order for us to move from surviving to thriving, we need to pivot onto something different. What do they say, that it's insanity in science or anything, that if you keep trying to, you know, do an experiment and you get the same results and you keep doing it the same way, that's literally insanity. So I think in our systems that we have now is that there are some fruits, right? You do get to have your barbecue on Sundays, and you get to have Thanksgiving and Christmas and maybe a week off work, and electricity's on. You know, you got fresh, clean water. I think I've been talking about that too. A lot of people I notice have been talking about that lately, these entrepreneurs and stuff, of how there's just like 1 billion of people on the planet that don't have access to just clean water, fresh, clean water. You know, that's a pivot. That's a different change. No, we don't have that here in the United States and the other countries probably where we have our listeners. I know we have listeners from all over the place. But I think it's a change, and change usually has to happen. When we look at nature, is a great teacher for us. If you watch the waterways of a river or a stream, you're going to see that there's going to be heavy rainfalls and water's going to flow, and it's going to change the patterns of those things. There'll be trees that were grown next to that big stream or that big river, and the erosion will cause that tree to fall. That tree will fall. It'll actually block the water and divert it to another section and start eroding another section of land, which happens to be where animals would usually normally pass, say the elk and deer. But now that thing's about 8 feet deep and there's a big old tree blocking it, and it caused more erosion, they have to find another place to cross, right? And there's that tree that was going to produce seeds and reproduce itself is no longer going to do that because it's down. It's gone. That section of the forest. In the long game, which I want to emphasize on, the long game is what we're not thinking about. The long game is what happens. It's the future for yourself. It's the gift that you can give yourself. What you do today will affect yourself tomorrow, and a lot of us don't think about it that way. It's evident, and as they say, 7 out of 10 Americans barely have $1,000, $2,000 in the bank. Where's that going to get you? I don't think that it has to all be about money and things like that, but where's your health going to get you? You know, look at the advancements of science, of medical technology that's looking to adapt to the rise of cancer. Where does cancer come from? It comes from stress. It comes from bad foods. It comes from living in toxic environments, in my opinion, that the body is got everything that it needs. The mind and the body, people have everything that they need to not just survive, but to flourish. But it's when we look at this, metaphorically speaking, with cancers and illnesses and things like that, we have an immune system. And when the body, basically like a car, when you're not changing the oil out, you're not taking care of it, there's a bunch of muck that starts to develop. And there's a bunch of diseases and things that start to happen, right? Because of this. Because everything can't flow properly. The body's stressed out. Maybe like the vehicle, it's overrun. It doesn't have the juices and everything it needs. And eventually, unlike a human body, has the ability to actually heal itself through its immune system. But when the bank account becomes too heavy in toxins, in contrast to nutrients and well-being, then the immune system can't handle it. And then the diseases take over, and then that's the end of that individual. And that's what I see going on with our economy right now. That's what I see going on with us as individuals, is that the life that we're living is very toxic. Now, it's very convenient. It's very flashy. It's very sexy, as they like to say. But how is that helping us out in our happiness? How is all this helping us out for the future gift to our children's children, to our children, to ourselves? Now look at all the global warming bullshit that people are talking about, CO2 emissions, and all of these things that we have going around in our world, these horrible things, deforestation and things like that. How's that helping anybody? And what's anybody doing about it? Now there's a lot that we can do on a positive note, a lot that we can do, but we're going to have to pivot. Maybe I should have named this fucking podcast the Pivot Podcast. The sexy pivot the unsexy pivot fucking podcast show. So I don't have a lot of time today. I've got to get back to work. I'm trying to get at least one show out here a week, but I felt that this one's very important. I'm trying to talk about what's influencing me, and the reason why I'm only doing one show is I got a lot of figuring out to do. I've got a lot of the pivoting to accomplish that I'm speaking of. Not as much as the most of you, the regular folk have. I can even imagine. I have my stresses and things to deal with, but every once in a while, when I look at others around me and I see the desperation and I see the stress, I realize how great I actually have it, and that I feel fortunate, not that I am blessed. I fucking hate that word in the context of, well, you are blessed and you're lucky. Luck and blessings has nothing to fucking do with any of this shit. I guess maybe I bless myself. It may sound ignorant, but I don't really give a shit. I fucking take ownership. I take accountability for many of the things I do. And that's what I want to pass on. This is a survival, this is a preparedness show, I guess. And the mentals is the very first place that we have to get this going. Because when you do good things, when you pick up trash in the ocean, when you treat people like human beings, when you have relationships with people, and like I wanted to say this one's really, I've been thinking about a lot. I have a client that I've done repeat business for, and she gives me hugs. We exchange fruits and vegetables and stuff, and she actually says on the phone, when I said, well, I'll be there tomorrow, and she's like, okay, I love you, you have a great evening. And the other day, she's, I've screwed up my shoulder. I've torn my bicep. And she says, we got to figure out something to get that fixed. So this is no longer, we move. The reason why I'm sharing this is because we move from the typical norm of human beings. And this is an experience that I have that makes me feel good. It's in my love bank, my feel-good bank, I guess you can say. Who talks to each other like that? And I'm really tripping out on it. Going out on a limb here, I guess, maybe, I don't really think so. But to look and think how awesome that is, and why can't we have more of that type of thing? Where we treat people like human beings, we human up, as I say at the end of this show. So, and that's a pivot. That's a decision that I decided to make in my life. And I'm hoping that a lot of you are going to make those decisions. And I hope that there's a place where you can be, where you could have sanctuary, where you can have freedom, where I guess when we start moving away from, when we need to pivot, when we need to change, we start going against what the norm is. We start going against the systems of what's in place. And that becomes very strange to people, right? So you need to place, I think, if you're that type of person, other people who feel the way you do. And I'm hoping that that's what this show will create. But I think that you should definitely, as I say, not give a fuck what other people think about you, because, like, for instance, my instance, I no alcohol. I went for a sober October thing, and I also went with no sugar, which was really trippy. We're going to have to talk about sometime. But I had a person who I went to go visit, and they were drinking. They were drinking alcohol, beers and stuff. Like, and offered me one. I said, "Oh, no, thank you." And they're like, "What? You know, since when do you don't drink a beer?" You know, and I said, "Well, I'm doing a sober October thing." They're like, "Dude, you only live once. Come on, it's a celebration today." I'm like, "No, I'm not really into it." And they're like, "Dude, come on." And then come to find out, the person's diabetic. And that's kind of what I look at, is that we have these people who will be hounding you and judging you and talking to you if you give a shit what people think about you, which you guys all know what I think about that. Stop giving a fuck what people think about you. Then you don't need the saints. You get in your own world and start making your own world happen. But what we have is ill people, diabetics, metaphorically speaking, telling us we should drink the drink. How well is that working for you, buddy? Right? It's fucking ridiculous. And a thought that I had years ago is starting to resurface, and it's a trail. And I know this sounds probably very, probably vulgar and disturbing, which is the perfect way to start a conversation, right? But it is people talking about civil war, you know, the separation from left and right. At least that's what we have in our country, United States. I know we have people on the other side, other parts of the world. I don't know if you guys are experiencing the same thing. Probably. Sounds like a plan to me. But yeah, they're talking about, I hear a lot of people, we're going to have a civil war, it's going to be separate. We already have separation. We've had separation for a long time. And what I've looked at and what I've thought is that there is a clear separation. There has been for a very long time. There are people, my people, I would like to say, who, when we see stuff packaged in styrofoam, we'll do everything in our power to get away from that styrofoam, where it doesn't mean anything to the other person. And why would we give a shit about fucking styrofoam? Because fucking styrofoam takes many years. It's toxic. It floats, and it takes many years to decompose, if it even decomposes. I think it will eventually, but hundreds of years possibly. And this is just disturbing and stupid. And it's cheap. That's why people use it. But people like me, we start asking questions. We start looking into things, going, well, why do we have the things like metaphoric styrofoam? You know, all of these pollutants and toxins and things that are the conveniences that are literally killing us. This doesn't make fucking sense to us. But to other people, they're like, big fucking deal. To my people, we would use a circle hook when we're catching a fish. We would like to identify the sex of the fish. A circle hook is basically a almost complete circle of a fish hook. Unlike conventional fish hooks, when a fish takes a bite of it, it'll hook them anywhere. It'll hook them in the throat, the guts. They'll swallow the hook. It'll get stuck way inside, and you've got to kill it. Even if you've got a little tiny baby fish, you're going to have to rip the guts out. It's very difficult to get it out. Very disturbing for the fish. Whereas a circle hook, which a lot of people don't know, when the fish goes to bite the bait, the circle actually floats along the ceiling or the tongue of the fish or the sidewalls of its cheeks and slides out of the mouth until it gets to the end where there's this angle, and it hooks the fish in the lip every single fucking time. Well, almost every single time. You can also, instead of having to tug on your fishing line when you feel a bite, you can just put your fishing pole down on a pole, you know, nailed down, secured to the ground, and you can hook a fish without even trying. What is the significance of this? Is that we do things differently. And when we pull that fish in, we would notice that maybe it's a female and it's springtime, when it so happens to be sometimes good fishing for, say, like bass and things like that. And what you could find is that maybe there's a big, giant, pregnant mama who's got, and you can easily tell the belly's very swollen. Maybe we would release that mama so she could have babies. Maybe we'd rather catch the male who's got a dick, a penis that has no fucking good on this earth. It's, you know, males are expendable. Even in the animal kingdom, I think even in the human kingdom as well. But that's another day. But yeah, that's the respect that we have. Jokes, folks, too. I try to lighten stuff up. Come on now, don't get angry. I know everybody's getting fucking touchy and edgy. Hear that shit with Dave Chappelle? The people wanting to cancel him from Netflix and stuff, and he's a fucking comedian. He said far worse things than what he said, and people are getting all just and butt hurt and fuck. You know what I say? Go fuck yourselves, dude. It's a fucking comedy show. You know that Dave Chappelle's going to be rude and vulgar, and I think that there's a fucking place for it. And the separation, which I was talking about with people, this is actually a perfect one with the Dave Chappelle shit that went on. Yes, his job is to make you laugh. And for all the fucking dumb people, I really would like to say that. I know that sounds rude and everything. You probably shouldn't, but you know what? Fuck it. If you're of somewhat of intelligence, you would notice that a lot of the subject matter that these comedians talk about is some pretty heavy and pretty smart shit. They're bringing it to our awareness, and they're making fun of it at the same time. And sometimes there is no point. It's just about a point, about something out there that, rises a fire, right? It raises people's eyebrows. Oh my God, no, he didn't. Yes, he did, for laughter's sake. But the majority of stuff that I look at in the funniest comedy, even in the rudest stuff, has a place of reckoning, a place of we're bringing out this subject matter in a funny way and laughing about it comfortably, but it does make you think. And I think anybody with any intellect would see those kind of things and go, wow, yeah, that is something. But this is what happens where we have the divide. We have separation. We have the people who are on whoever the opposite side is saying, you can't say that. You can't do that. How about I say that we can do whatever the fuck we fucking please with our kind of people. If you don't like it, don't fucking listen to it. You want to buy styrofoam? Go buy fucking styrofoam. And then bitch and complain that there's global warming and problems everywhere while you're contributing to it, because that's just fucking stupid. And go and do all of your fucking, live your life and follow the rat race and do all the things that you think do the right thing. Do what you're fucking told, from what you learned in school, when to stand up and ask permission to take a shit. Don't express your fucking ideas and shift things over to your opinion because we need to follow the text, and don't disrupt the classroom, right? Don't have opinions of your own, all those kind of things. I'm not saying that happens all the fucking time, but pretty much, yeah. So we have a divide in people, and that's where I think that we don't have to do anything. But for myself, is to notice that we have these type of fucking pansy-ass motherfuckers out there who are actually pointing the finger and calling us the evil ones because maybe we don't want to get a puncture in our skin. Maybe we want to go live off the land and live in a cement cave rock with beautiful crystals and rocks that we built this whole thing of with grass over it so you can't even see it, which would be weird to these type of people, right? Where we can live off the land and we don't have pretty fucking glittery nails. We have dirt in our hands from farming, from growing food, living with nature in a symbiotic system, going completely against the grain, not looking the part whatsoever. Maybe looking like straight up fucking mountain people. You should have this fucking right. But now we have people that are judging, and we have this other side. So to cut the shit out of my mouth, what I've noticed is I think that we've had a great separation in people, and we've had it all along. The people who will laugh at people like me walking down the beach picking up trash in front of people. Picking up their trash happily, where they're looking, what the fuck is the matter with this dude? Fucking trash picker-upper, right? Who picks up fucking other people's trash? It goes to show you what a lowlife. This is what the lowlife kids, that's what they do. They're trash pickers. That's why you got to go to school and college so you're not a trash picker-upper, right? So there's been a separation, and I think that we need to realize this, and I think it's getting worse. I know it's getting worse when we have these people coming in who... You're going to judge someone like Dave Chappelle for making a comedy show. You shouldn't have been there in the first fucking place. There's thousands of other things going on, and you had to choose, pick on this one. It just doesn't make fucking sense to me. Maybe it does to you. I don't know. But I think that us as individuals, we need to get away from these type of people, and that's actually the pivot that I look at for my life, that I look at for the future, is to get out, further. I live in the suburbs. I live right now tiny. I'm in a perfect place. I'm making really good money. Everything's going actually fantastic for me. In contrast to what I see going around me for other people, I don't need to ask for a fucking handout from anything, from anybody. I handle my own shit. I'm able to take off. I work 8-9 months. I work whenever the fuck I want to. I'm able to play with my children when I want to, although not mentally 100% there every single time until I take my mini retirements where I don't work for like 3-4 months. I'm going to take a week off for, and there's going to be no show, by the way, for the last week of November. I'm going to take a week off, I decided, and just have myself some wine and beer and food, and just go for a just relaxation nap, jacuzzi time, everything for like a week on that time, and just spend time with my family, with my children. But yeah, I'm able to do those type of things, and I guess that's what I want for people. I think that possibly this show is going to unsuck in the next couple of months when everything starts to hit. People are going to start looking, well, where do I start from? Like, what do I do? Who's out there doing things? We all can't be millionaires. I mean, I think if each individual, whatever you want, you could be, but I don't know if there's enough space for all of us. And things are constricting and getting very difficult. And I think a lot of people are going to start asking themselves and start searching for information and for places. And hopefully this is one where it will happen. But again, it's not sexy. A lot of shows that I listen to jump in really and start giving more instructions of like how to grow food and save up gas and how to survive and prep, how to do survival. So there's a lot of things in there. But what good is it having a bunch of food, I would say metaphorically speaking, that you're not even going to fucking eat? That's the philosophy that we look at. We need to get the head straight. It all starts in the mindset, the mentality, to be smart enough to look and go, do I feel like living off rice and beans for the next fucking year? Why would I stockpile a bunch of shit? I don't even eat beans. Beans make me fart like a fucking son of a bitch, right? They do me. I don't know about you guys, but the mentality of somebody to actually start looking and start pivoting correctly, I guess I would say. And how do you teach somebody like this? And the problem is, as I see in society, there's a pill for every ill. Again, we go back to convenience and we go back to the blueprint. You got, it reminds me of functional medicine, as they say. My foot's hurting, so you go to the doctors. Well, here's a fucking aspirin, a painkiller, and it kills the pain. Well, when the painkillers wear off, well, your foot starts hurting again. Whereas functional medicine, I'd say functionality, we'd use this as a metaphor here. We actually need to remove the shoe to find out that, you know what? There was a nail on the bottom of your fucking shoe. It was stuck in the soles. You must have stepped on it. Somebody kept poking and poking and poking at you. We removed the nail. Now we don't have that pain. Now we don't need to see a doctor. Now we sure as fuck don't need any pain medications. But this comes from a mentality of teaching people and exercising the muscle of pivoting. See, when I first started off, a lot of people they want the one pill for every ill. A lot of people have been structured to live in 72 degrees Fahrenheit, year round inside this little cubicle in this little rat cage, and everything's just perfect. And then when you're hungry, you just simply walk to the fridge, in your fucking underwear, grab something in the middle of fucking winter and eat it. And you turn on the faucet, there's fresh running water, and it never seems to get disturbed. You're just in a perfect little fucking aquarium. And if we zoom out, it's a very large aquarium in my book. But when you live on my side of the fence, as of this morning, you guys can see I'm wearing, those of you watching, it's fucking cold. I got to go paint some wood and things like that. And it's cold. Your hands start stinging, and I like it. It gets me out of my comfort zone. But I've been pivoting my entire life. Having a special needs kid definitely makes you pivot as well. But it becomes a muscle. You become accustomed to it. You become used to it. In fact, sometimes, this is going to sound strange to a lot of you, it's kind of fun because you never know what's going to happen. Your day isn't that predictable. And then you shift and do different things, and there's outcomes that you never knew was possible. There's new thoughts that I think that happen. Like for me, I think that I know this is what I want to do with, like, say, growing my own food and things like that. And I start to experiment. Next thing I know, a whole offshoot of things start to happen in my experimentations with growing food that I never even knew was possible. Like, for instance, I grow stuff in burlap bags, right? In sacks, in these little baskets that I've developed. What I learned is when I had two baskets touching each other, and a tomato bush actually sent a runner root into the next basket. This was a complete pivot, a complete difference. And that one tomato bush grew a lot bigger than the others because it had more nutrients. It was sharing the soil with the plant next to it. Well, what happens if I stick a box on either basket on either side, and the roots protrude into each basket, and it gets even that much more nutrients? Why is this significant? Because it's lightweight. I can move this around. When I'm done with it, I don't have to dig anything up. I literally could just sever the roots, dump my baskets, remix my load, and start over again. And it just opens my eyes up to many other things that can happen. So when we're pivoting and we're allowing ourselves to try new things happen. I mean, duh, right? Try new things, go down different roads, you're going to see new shit. So in a way, a lot of these problems and things that I see happening could be a good thing. And I think that people could, if they start pivoting, if they start learning the philosophy, getting the mindset right, that a lot of awesome things are going to start happening in their lives. I think a lot of people don't even know what they want. They don't even know what they're after. They don't even know if they're happy or not. They don't even know if they have a soul. How do I know this? Because I listen to people ask questions to gurus and self-help people and inspiring, motivational speakers and shit like that. And I listen to the questions and go, wow, a lot of these people are just fucking clueless. And they're looking for that pill. And I think that a lot of these people are trying to give the answer, but it's the long game, as we said before. We didn't get here overnight. We sure as fuck ain't getting out of here overnight. There's been a development that when we're accustomed, which I think happens with the separation in people. They've been developed to think that this is the right way, this is the only way, and everybody's fucking been doing it, and we keep doing it. Anybody who tries to ruin that is the enemy. What the fuck are you trying to do? Trying to ruin. So through the long game, they've been developed to have this mindset that can't be shaken, and that creates the division. And I think that creates the division in ourselves as well, as of finding out what we want, what makes us happy, what makes us truly fall in love, what makes us with ourselves, with the world. All of these things, what do we actually want out of our lives? We're sideswiped. And it takes time to basically, I'd like to say, uneducate yourself from what you've been educated on. Now, very interesting is how the system that we have, the matrix, if you will, has, I think, figured this out, where if we get them early enough, and if we keep flashing the billboards and the commercials and the social media and all the things in their faces all the time, we keep the proverbial apple in front of the horse so the horse can just keep moving. And the horse doesn't realize that the apple that they're after is at the end of a fishing pole on a string with a regular standard hook at the end of their life that's going to rip them that's going to kill them. And they're going to keep chasing that apple. And there's no swaying them. That's why we have a division of people, I believe. And the more we focus on ourselves instead of other people, and also start to focus on the other people that are out there that want to do good for the earth, want to help each other, they want a client to say, I love you, right? To give your client a hug. And this is like permaculture. This is like nature. This is where we actually develop a relationship that goes on forever. Not just a quick sale in entrepreneurship where we sell one time. That's what's happening. A lot of things happen, not all of them, but a lot of things happen where we make a big amount of money and we get rich. But what if I could appeal to you rich people out there and intelligent people, that if you did something with more perpetualism, more perpetual motion, such as permaculture, healing the earth, developing these relationships where they keep paying you over and over and over again in different ways. Not only could this person keep paying you and make you even richer, but they would make you richer in your heart and your soul and your mind, where they would say, I love you, which money can't fucking buy. Where you start to develop these feelings where you actually feel good inside, besides looking good or looking the part with your big McMansion and your fucking rich-ass car, right? And nothing wrong with having a big car or a nice car or a big old house, I think, as long as it's done deliberately. It serves you a purpose. But what if you had that inside? What if you had that feeling inside that people actually care for you? That is what we're all searching for, I think, in the journey of our life. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And I guess that's it. Probably said too much. I don't fucking know. I just rolled this show off the cuff. It is light out and I need to start painting. So guys, that's the show. I hope it brought some inspiration. I'm not sure. I keep saying, maybe we might end the show. I've got a lot of stuff to do. I don't know. I love being here. I love doing this. And if for some reason I guess I will do a final show, if that's the case. But we're going to do it once a week. Try to do it once a week. I may even miss a week. So if I missed a week, hey, I apologize. I will be back. But I am super fucking busy, and there is a lot to fucking get ready for the shit show that I see unraveling around us. So I don't even know why I even fucking said that. I guess because I love you guys as my friends, and I want to spread the message, and I guess I really just want to help people and show people that there's a different way to live, that we don't have to live this bullshit way. I I'm not sexy. I live tiny. I live simple. I don't have the things that other people have, other than a client that says I love you, kids that say I love you, playing with my children and having a good time, being able to see and be a part of nature, having these experiences and creating perpetualism instead of just single time transactions and trying to keep up the facade. So yeah, I think I'm done. Thanks guys for watching. Please comment below. That's what's really the show. I don't know how many listeners we have on the podcast here. It's impossible for us to tell. I don't even know if anybody's really listening. It says somewhere like 1,000. I just need to know. Subscribe wherever you're at, if there's a subscribe button. And let me know that you guys are out there, because it feels like we're not even making a difference out there, and that maybe this show is just not meant to be out there. Maybe everybody prefers the sexiness instead of this type of thing. So yeah, help me out. Do that if you got any value. So go out there and have yourself a near life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fucking fire. Human up. Live it, love it, own it, and bone it, my friends.